Here we are in Chester County, where once upon a time it could be considered dangerous to be a Democrat. Maybe not physically dangerous, but maybe you might not get the job that you wanted just because you were a Democrat. And here we are in 2008, and once again, it seems to be that being a Democrat here in southern Chester County is kind of an endangered species and somewhat sequestered. Here we go to the Democratic headquarters here in Kennett Square, mushroom capital of the world. And it seems somewhat subterranean and maybe apparently in a back alley, but luckily many people have found where the Democratic Party lives. Here we are in the Democratic headquarters here in the underground, and this is Jessie Cocks, and you are the chairman of, what exactly are you?
I'm the chair of the Kennett Area Democrats, which includes Zone 8 in the Democratic structure in Chester County, which is Kennett Borough, Kennett Township, East Marlboro Township, Pennsbury Township, and Newland Township.
How would you describe Chester County?
Oh, that's okay.
Chester County has been a very Republican county. Chester County has the richest and the poorest people in Pennsylvania in this one county. And so it's been a very diverse demographic forever. Well, forever. I'm 58. In my lifetime, it has been that demographic.
I mean, for example, Pennsylvania is considered a blue state. However, I don't think that's entirely true.
Well, it became a blue state in '06 elections, and so everybody got all excited when Rendell and Casey won.
Right.
But it is not a given blue state.
I mean,
the sticker we have here that says Pennsylvania's proud to be a blue state, that little sticker right there. Proud to live in a blue state. That was a reaction of the '06 election. But it is not a blue state. We will be happy to be a blue state November 5th.
Well, I mean, it's considered a swing state, right,
Yes,
at the moment?
yes.
I mean,
Right now it's more shades of blue, but you can't trust the polls.
I mean, why can't we trust the polls?
Well, we know that Barack was ahead in double digits in New Hampshire in the primary, and Hillary won that. So just for an example. And the other thing about the polls is when Barack was down in the polls a couple weeks ago, people were showing up here to work. It was fabulous. The minute he started to go up, the drop-off was significant. The higher he went in the polls, the fewer volunteers we got. And that is dangerous. So people need to know it's not a blue state until November 5th, and we've proven it a blue state, that we can't let the pressure off for a moment.
So, okay, so we can't relax. So
No, we cannot relax.
what can we do?
We have 20 days to show up at this office or offices near you if you're not in Kennett Square area. This office is open 9 to 9, 7 days a week. And you are the person that's going to get Barack Obama elected. Every one of us makes a difference. Going door to door, making phone calls are the two most important things we can do, and it's essential we all do it. And step outside of your comfort zone if you don't like to do it, because imagine how you'll feel November 5th if you didn't do that and he loses.
Wait, what was that slogan you had that you sent out?
Which one?
The 4 hours?
Oh, yeah. Spend 4 hours canvassing or making phone calls, or spend 4 years wishing you had.
I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and that's putting it mildly.
But I mean, for example, I found that just wearing a T-shirt today, some McCain supporter came up to me and asked me, why I was supporting Barack, and it seemed to me that she was on the fence.
Right.
So just by wearing a T-shirt or even a badge,
Right.
People realize that you're a bit of a target, but they actually she wanted to talk about the issue. She didn't want to just berate me for being
Right.
an Obama supporter.
Which shows you how many undecided voters there are. Everyone is a potential Barack voter. So that's why it's important for all of us to step out. It's like come out of the closet of being an Obama supporter and take a risk. Put it on your shirt, wear a badge, put a sign on your lawn, put stuff all over your car, and be willing to take that risk. It's all about social change in this country is all about taking risk. And so working for Obama is a great way to take risks if that it feels edgy to you. But he's the most amazing leader that's come along in my lifetime. Martin Luther King changed my life 40 years ago.
Well, okay, we'll talk about Martin Luther King later, but let's talk about why are you supporting Barack? Why do you think he's a great candidate?
I'm supporting Barack Obama for many reasons. I think he's great on the issues. I think he's the greatest leader we've ever had in this country. He exudes love and the essence of nonviolence, and nonviolence has been a huge part of my life. And the other side lives in fear and hate, is their tactics. I met Barack on April 19th in Downingtown, and to be in that man's presence is an extraordinary experience. He, as wonderful as he is in public, on TV, it's magnified in his immediate presence and conversing with him. He's right on all the issues. I love that he's a community organizer from back in the day, because I've been doing community organizing for a long time, and he understands how important it is for all of us to have awareness of our own and other people's rank and privilege in the world, and understanding classism, understanding racism, understanding when someone is marginalized and when someone's in the mainstream. And that, those are all lots of lingo-y words, but it's having an understanding and how to translate one's own privilege and where other people do have privilege. People who are often poor have spiritual privilege. And that's why you have a lot of often Anglo people trying to usurp African American church energy because it's so vibrant, or Native American spirituality. And so there's a lot of cultural appropriation in our world. And Barack is completely aware of that. As a biracial man, he's aware of so many of those issues, as having an African father. And so having that African blood that is so exquisite that actually I found out I had DNA testing. I have sub-Saharan African blood and Native American blood, as well as very Anglo blood. But I've lived with all the privilege of being a white person. And
right, you kind of ran away to the circus when?
Well, I guess things really started to change for me in the Martin Luther King Poor People's Campaign. So it was 1968 I did my first organizing around social change. That was around here. I organized fellow classmates from Westtown School to go to the Poor People's Campaign, and we all drove down and to DC. And at that time, my father, who's dead, and I love him for giving me life, and we were very politically different, he said to me, "What are you going to DC? There's a Poor People's Campaign out in the barn." And it was like, that's exactly why I'm going, because folks like you don't understand. You just said why I'm going. So, and my father, just to give you some backup, trained thoroughbred steeplechase racehorses. So I was,
and not just, he was a class,
Yeah, he's in the Racing Hall of Fame in Saratoga Springs, New York. He was a wonderful man. He really was, and he taught me to be passionate about what you do. That man worked in that barn 7 days a week and loved it. And I learned from him how important it is to be passionate about your work. Now, unfortunately for him, he wanted me to kind of take over the business as the youngest of four, and I ended up doing all this social change work because I was passionate about those issues, more than I was about racing.
You caught his ability to dream, just not the dream.
Right, different dream. Similar passion, very different dream.
So you've worked in every single campaign since McGovern?
No, I worked in McGovern's campaign out in Wyoming, in Sheridan, Wyoming, for a brief stint, and did an absentee ballot and drove home election day from Wyoming, actually. But I haven't been involved in every political campaign. I went from that to doing, in '77, I helped start the Battered Women's Center in Chester County, which is now the Domestic Violence Center of Chester County, and was the first director of that. In 1980, I was a teacher for Project Trend, Teaching Response to Environmental Demands, where we brought the magic of nature into the inner city schools on a 6-week extra course that we offered the schools for free. That was fabulous. In '82, I started the Chester County Campaign for Nuclear Weapons Freeze, and then by '83 was chair of the Pennsylvania campaign, so going to small communities all over Pennsylvania, teaching people how to explore the military-industrial academic complex and funding that Senator Specter did not like to see me coming.
Sure.
Because we were teaching people how to explore his donors and the conflict of interest and all that stuff.
I mean, how much impact do you feel like you've made in Chester County?
Oh gosh, that's hard to measure. I know in the battered women's movement that I had a very large impact. Sometimes I'll still run into some people that remind me who they are, and they say, coming to that center changed my life. So
And
one person is enough for me to feel successful.
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I also kind of want to know, well, what's it like all your friends are rabid Republicans, and do you not talk to them about politics? Do you engage them?
Well, a lot of my family's friends are very Republican. And I have always been very forthright in my, according to some, very radical beliefs. But they've appreciated that about me. I mean, people that know me well know that they're going to get the honest truth as I see it for myself. And so the lucky thing is people have come to expect that from me. So I've been told I'm honest to a fault, but people are getting used to it and appreciating it now.
Well, they crucified Christ for telling the truth.
Yeah, well.
It may set you free, but there are consequences.
Yeah, there are consequences, but I'm lucky. In this lifetime, taking risks is easy for me. If things get too normal, then it's time for me to move on and start something else. I also was involved in the Pennsylvania freeze and then the national freeze, and then started the American Peace Test out in Las Vegas, Nevada, with some other folks that were there in '85. And while we were in jail for that action at the Nevada test site, which was a nonviolent action, the Soviets stopped nuclear weapons testing.
Wow.
So that inspired me off the charts. That's history on a platter.
So how do you implement the nonviolent technique, so to speak, with your activism?
Well, first and foremost is to approach each person with love and respect, no matter how much you disagree on a subject. To find a place to connect with that person at the heart level. For instance, when I was giving lots of speeches nationwide in the 80s, I was charged with conspiracy in '87, and so I did a national speaking tour around that charge that was related to actions at the Nevada test site with the American Peace Test. And Reagan was in office then. So one of the lines, and I really worked on this, was to say, and people would gasp, I mean, they would choke, they'd puke, is to say how hard it is to say, I love Ronald Reagan as a human being, because I so radically disagree with his policies. But I really got to a place where I could say that authentically, because I know that I could sit down with him and have a conversation about other things and connect. He wasn't a bad person. I just totally disagreed with most of his political choices.
Can you say the same thing about George Bush Jr.?
I was challenging myself just the other day. It's like, ugh. But I have to say that I know I could sit down and connect with him as a human being. And that's hard. It's hard when you disagree with somebody so intensely.
Well, I mean, what's interesting is that have you ever heard of nonviolent communication with
Yes.
Marshall Rosenberg?
Yes, we've done playback theater for that group, for their gatherings.
He doesn't make you have to do what you're talking about.
Right.
You don't have to love the other person. You just have to realize that they have needs and whether or not you can empathize with those needs. And that way, that's another approach.
That's a great approach. The important thing is, no matter who you disagree with, if you're a political organizer or in your community or in your own family. I mean, I have family members I love that I radically disagree with politically and socially about a lot of things. So you can nonviolently love someone and not like them or their behavior. It's almost, for me, it's like a spiritual practice.
Absolutely.
It's finding that grounded place of love. It's like my love of nature. And nature sometimes is brutal. She has tornadoes and kills people, but I totally love her.
Well, and I also think that sometimes if you can get beyond labels and get to actual information. Like I had an incident yesterday where I wanted to put a guy on a board of an organization that I work with, and he says, oh, he's a pain in the ass. And I said, well, how is he a pain in the ass? And then he told me, exactly what he was talking about. And then by the end of it, this guy said, I'll appoint him, bring up his name to be on the board.
Good
because
job.
it was interesting. Instead of saying you have to put this guy on the board, I didn't want him to put him on there or it caused problems within the organization. But once I got to the information of why this guy irritated this other guy, it was interesting. I wasn't expecting transformation at all.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm saying is that if you can get beyond labels and ask and actually listen to the information.
Exactly.
Most people, they don't want to hear
Right.
new information.
Right. And being a good listener is a key to all this work. And staying grounded. I have been called names that you can't speak. Even, Howard Stern would probably love it. But, short of the Howard Stern show, you usually don't say a lot of the things that have been yelled in my face over the years. And a great way to deal with that, or for instance, the hate and negativity that's coming from the McCain campaign right now, is when that comes at you, if you're phone calling or you go to somebody's door and they yell at you, commie pinko freak, for supporting Obama, if that's what they say, is to imagine it's like you're a lightning rod. That energy just comes down through you into the ground. And don't take it personally. People often take stuff personally, and it's a projection. People are projecting their fear, their anger. Don't take it. That's theirs. Let's just flip it right back, but don't get defensive. Staying grounded in what you know to be true, staying grounded in my passion to get Barack Obama elected. I'll take anything. You can bring anything on, and
It's a question of letting go of your ego, letting go of what our idea is of who we are. When you don't take things personally, all of a sudden it just runs right through you.
right. It just falls off. It's no big deal.
As Buddha said, your insults belong to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
They
Well, and the other line I've heard for years is when you point a finger, 3 fingers are coming back.
Right.
So it's like, stop pointing fingers. And in this work, it really helps if you can take responsibility for your own part in any interaction or any moment that's less than perfect. And, that's half the battle, I have found.
Yeah. So what do you think the future is here in Chester County? Hopefully we're going to win the election, but of course we need help, right?
We need lots of help. We need help every minute of every day. We have 20 days left. There's
And
no
probably-
time to think, I think I'll do it tomorrow.
And,
no.
and probably
now.
by the time this is shown, we'll have 18 days left.
Yeah,
Who knows
exactly.
where
So
we'll be.
who knows where we'll be? And
But in a perfect world, Barack will be elected. But how do you see the Democratic Party growing in Chester County?
we're growing leaps and bounds. We last spring, our goal was to get up to 100,000 Democrats. We have way surpassed that last spring, and I actually don't have an exact number right now, but we're over probably at least over 120, if not more, thousand Democrats. And as the Democrat registration rises, the Republican registration is dropping.
Do you think that's because the old guard is dying, or because maybe people are getting disgusted with the Republican Party?
I think it's perhaps both of those things, but also we had a ton of Republicans shift their registration in the primary to vote for Barack. And the scuttlebutt was they'd all go back to being Republican. They haven't. And the Republican Party is freaking out in Chester County right now, which is a good thing. We like
Not that
that.
there's anything wrong with Republicans.
No, some of my family and best friends are Republicans,
Mine too.
But it's just, regardless of party, it is time to elect a man like Barack Obama, who will take you at face value, will bring everyone to the table. It's so ironic that Bush used to say he's the uniter, not the divider, when in fact he's been the most divisive president we've ever had. Barack truly is an authentic uniter. He respects everyone coming to the table he makes space for that.
I agree. I saw Clinton last night on Jon Stewart, and he said the same thing. You know, I mean, people don't think that he supports Barack, but that's not what I saw on TV.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I didn't see that, but
It was great.
yeah. So the most important thing is to remember that each one of us completely makes a difference for this election and social change. If your issue is race, class, gender, family violence, healthcare, Barack Obama is the only candidate that addresses each one of these issues from an exquisite, articulate, clear, grounded base. So we have to elect him.
I totally agree. And foreign policy. I think he's
Oh,
much more presidential.
Much more.
And he is going to bring our world image just back to what it could be.
Absolutely. He will absolutely bring the United States back into a place of grounded leadership in the world that we have completely lost and the Bush administration has destroyed.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been abroad for a lot. I mean, over the years during the administration, and our name is mud.
No, it used to be a great deal if you were in Europe or some other country and you were from the United States. Now, anytime I've done any traveling, which hasn't been a whole lot lately because of things like this campaign, but you know, you do everything to avoid being labeled an American. You know, that's a dirty word in most countries now. So.
Okay, well, thanks so much for talking to me. This has been Jessie Cocks. This is Molly Cheshire with Meetings with Remarkable People.
I didn't know I was a remarkable people.
Well, we're all
Thank you.
remarkable in our way, but
Yes,
I think
absolutely.
your story is very remarkable. You know, I mean, it takes a lot of guts to go against your family and dare to live in the town that you grew up in. You know?
Well, I kept leaving it as an adult, looking for something different, only to find out this is where I'm meant to be, and all of me and all my story and my history with me.
All right, thanks again.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.